Amanda J. Scott joins me today. She is an internationally recognized stress management expert and the author of the New York reviewed Create Success from Stress. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me, Adriana, today, and welcome everyone.
Thank you. So, look, I wanted to identify there's the 8 initial stressors that really form part of your book and how we can move from those to a higher state. Could you tell us a little bit about your program?
Absolutely. Well, I'm very passionate about helping people manage and maintain their inner strength. It's so important, especially today at these times, that we need to get back into their strength. Did you know that 95% of all illnesses and diseases are due to stress? And the remainder 5% is genetic stress. Now, this was brought out by the Stanford University Medical School back in 1998. So, which means that all the emotional and physical pain is all due to stress. So, knowing this, I wanted to come up with an easy way to understand stress so we could all sort of live without stress. So I leveraged some research from the University of Berkeley in California. This states that you need a certain amount of stress to entice the brain to develop new cells. So through this, I discovered, I'm working with many clients, that there are 8 stress emotions. And each of these areas are there for our growth and our development, to both personally and professionally, to build our strength.
Okay, so just to run through those, you've identified doubt, worry, regret, sadness, hopeless, unacceptable, overwhelm, and unknown. And I think everybody is going through varying degrees of that at the moment. So Amanda, how does this work? Do you initially get that stress feeling, one of those 8 stress feelings?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So what happens is in each area, those initial stresses, that it brings in with it negative thoughts and negative feelings. So when that doubt comes in, for instance, we're either going to take this as a growth and opportunity to be able to connect with the positive emotional state of it, the belief, the motivation, to be able to get through that initial stress of doubt.
So let's have a look. So first of all, let's take, for example, hopeless. So a lot of people would be feeling quite hopeless and out of control at the moment. If they don't move past that initial stressor, they end up in a state of despair, and they can really sit in that state of despair for a long time, is what I think you're indicating here. Yeah. Or alternatively, they can go straight from a state of hopelessness, get into a positive mind frame, and then really start to take action.
Absolutely, that's right. So so as I said before, you're going with the hopeless. If you move forward and drive forward with some positive action, it doesn't need to be huge steps. It can be those little tiny steps that can create that positive state in the body to move you forward. And that helps you through that initial stress of feeling hopeless. Or you can take that and, as you said, build it and prolong it, or sometimes you can avoid it. And what happens here is this can eventually build up into the negative state of despair. Right. And that is what the negative states, and those 8 negative states, are what cause emotional and physical pain in the body.
Okay. You see, so if I was to ask you a quick question, how do we know that we're sitting in that negative state? Are there any particular questions we can ask, or any identifiers?
Great question. Yes, there's a very quick and easy way to identify it, and it's by asking yourself 3 questions. The first question is, you go back into that initial state. How often do I feel that initial stress? You know, do you never feel it? Do you occasionally feel it, regularly, or all the time? Because if you're all the time feeling that initial stress, then you're more likely to be holding on, prolonging it, avoiding it, and building up into that negative state. And the second question is do I get into those negative states easily? Do I regularly get into that negative state of despair or anger? Because if you do that regularly and all the time, you're being more reactive. And the more reactive you are, the less creative you can be. You see, sometimes, the stress of today can be linked with the stress of the past. So sometimes we can suppress those emotions without even realizing it. Right. And the third question is, how often do I live in those positive states? Because those are the ones that are going to drive you forward.
So, Amanda, what are the consequences of avoiding stress?
Yeah, well, on the one hand, you've got where you're avoiding it, you're actually disconnected from the growth and your development. You're a little bit indecisive and making your own decisions, and you're less productive. And that normally is from 0 to 19%. And then you can go on the other side where you're a little bit, you've built up that initial stress, and you're from the 40 to 60%, where you're a little bit confused. You're overthinking, you're overanalyzing, you get a few headaches and a bit of brain fog, and that you lack that creativity. And then that can build up to the next stage where it's 60 to 80%. And this is where you become dysfunctional. You lack that positive energy, you're low productivity again there, and you're spending more time being negative, and you're finding it hard to sleep. Then that also can build up then even further to 80 to 100%, which is destructive. And this is where your body depletes, your immune system weakens. And this is where you really do hold on to those negative emotional states.
Are you also open to more addictive behaviors at that point?
Absolutely, absolutely, because you're trying to fill a void, you're trying to get away from everything, run away from things, and not really deal with things in life. So this 20 to 40%, this is where the growth and the development happens. This is where you're using those positive emotional states to drive your way through any initial stress. This child will really help you to manage and maintain those positive emotional states. Even by being aware of them, you can really make those changes. And it's always about getting back into your inner strength.
I think awareness is always the first step too, isn't it, really?
Absolutely, yeah. That once you're aware, you're already you're already driving, you're already moving forward when you're aware.
Exactly. Thanks for your time today, Amanda.
Thank you, and take care, everyone.